Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 4th episode of A Cup of Nepenthe. Kind of positivity podcast, but who knows how that's going to turn out today. Today I am joined once again by the lovely Cam.
Way to just, straight up temper everyone's expectations and be like, could get heavy today, who knows?
Yeah, this is something that I actually wanted to say, though, was if you are not in the mind frame to maybe hear about other people struggling during lockdown and during self-quarantine, then maybe just skip this one. We'll be back next week, probably talk about something a little bit more lighthearted then. But yeah, if you feel like not okay with listening to this, don't force yourself to.
Yeah, we've talked about this kind of at length before starting, and the pair of us are going to do our best to frame it in as positive a way as possible. So you've got that at least. But yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. We're here to support each other. I think that's the point. And having conversations like this is inevitable. It's something that we all have to face. So obviously, as Eddie said, if you don't feel ready for that right now, then maybe take a step away for a bit. But I do think it will be useful to you in the long run if you find some time, get yourself in a good headspace, come back and try again.
Yeah. So I'm going to introduce the topic first. We're just going to jump right into it, because Cam's already introduced himself in the first episode. If you haven't seen that one, or listened to it,
I might do some cheeky plugs at the end. We'll see.
I might allow it. But we're just going to talk today about anxiety, boredom, sleeping patterns, things that are potentially not at their best while we are so removed from each other. And I don't suspect it's going to be all positive like I've tried to make the previous weeks, but there's no point in talking about being positive if we're just ignoring, glaring issues, if you want my honest opinion on that. So we'll try and navigate it so that it's at least somewhat helpful and it's not just an entire hour of us going, oh man, it's really tiring being inside all the time. So, with the topic being introduced, how are you, Cam?
So this week has been extremely tough. This has probably been the first Saturday morning where I've not had work and I've woken up and just gone, oh dear God, this again. But I mean, there are several different reasons for that. One of which is work related, and I don't want to go too much into detail about that. But let's just say it was something very frustrating, a piece of work that I had to redo multiple times. It just felt like I couldn't win either way. I was stuck in between two factions, almost, as it were. So I really had no say in what was going on, but I was the one that ultimately had to do the work. So that sucked. And then on top of that, I recently invested some money in a new office chair because with working from home, I was like, I'm going to need to spend some money to do this and make sure I'm as comfortable as possible. That broke. So I had to replace that with the only thing that I had to hand, which was a fold-out metal chair. And which is fine when you're doing a live stream for 2 or 3 hours, and there's kind of an end to it. But after day 5 of working full-time on that thing, I was in agony. It was horrible. Just so much pain, and having to concentrate and work on top of that. So I had the frustration of how much pain I was in, wrapped up in the frustration of I can't do my work, and then getting anxious about, well, people need me to do this stuff. And yeah, it was just a big heckin' mess. And then of course, because I was dealing with all of that, I was mentally and physically exhausted. So when it came around to doing things that I wanted to do, I couldn't focus. So yeah, it's been a very, very stressful week, which kind of led to me waking up this morning and just wanting to go straight back to sleep. Like, I pretty much did. Emily woke me up with some breakfast, bless her, and I ate that, and then pretty much was like, I'm grumpy, I'm going to bed. So I went back to bed for like another hour and a half to an hour. No, sorry, half an hour to an hour. And I'm kind of, as it kind of got time to do this, was only really when I finally started shaking that feeling off.
Yeah.
How about you?
It's been a weird week this week. So, for those of you who don't know, I have something called fibromyalgia, which is a condition? I don't know how to explain it properly, but basically, it literally means fibrous tissue and muscle pain. And I had the worst flare-up of it this week since Games Expo in June of last year.
Oh yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, because I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Which heckin' sucked. But I'm kind of... okay, I was taken a little bit by surprise by getting it because, like I said, it's been a really long time since I've had a flare-up that's been that bad. But I had one this week, which started on Tuesday, and it took me a super long time to get out of bed because I was in a lot of pain. Whenever I went up and down the stairs, it would take me about a minute each way, because I just couldn't walk properly. And I decided that I had to cancel most of my streams this week just in the interests of being kind of nice to myself, because it's hard to explain, but sitting in a chair is not the best thing for fibromyalgia. So I cancelled my streams mostly this week, which sucks because I enjoy doing it, but at the same time I think it also helped me recover from that bout a little bit quicker. Because I'm on, what are we on, Saturday? Started on Tuesday. The stairs I can manage pretty good now. Flat surfaces, not as well, but we're getting there. And I feel like because I was kind to myself, because I just let myself have that time, I got over it a little bit quicker than I normally would. So I've learned a lesson.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely a really, obviously not positive in what it was, but it was definitely a good learning moment for you, I think.
Yeah.
It fucking
And the best
sucks.
part is...
Excuse my language, but it's...
oh my god.
You had Bill on the other week, so I'm not too bothered.
He dropped a few of the F-bombs, as we call them.
Dirty words. But yeah, it's just I think it's a testament as well, though, to like how much you've grown as a person in probably what I would say is quite a short amount of time, in that you're now able to kind of look at a situation like that, whereas I think maybe a couple of years ago that would have been the end of the world.
Oh. I'll tell you, the one thing that really helped with that was physiotherapy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, because obviously we've known each other for a very long time, and you, in the past, you've had a very unique way of dealing with stressful situations.
Crying a lot.
But no, you've come a very long way since then, and it's really, I mean, obviously, I wish that you didn't have to deal with that, but it's kind of really inspiring to see that you are looking at it in a better way than you maybe have been in the past, and you made a quick decision. You were like, this is shit, this is what I'm going to do to help myself out of it, and it paid off.
Thanks. That's really nice to hear. Especially since you've known me for so long, so you definitely know the dumbass shit that I probably have done, which perpetuated me not being very well or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's like, well, I don't think it goes. It's like 2009. Ebby was a completely different person. But
she's dead. 2009 Heavy died.
But in the same vein, like 2009 Cam was a completely different person, and I think back to then, and I'm like, wow, if I knew myself back then, I would have slapped myself in the face by now.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been friends with my 2009 self, but you know, I might go for a coffee occasionally with me now.
I think it's an important thing to note, especially when you're kind of looking back on the past. And we do grow and we do change, and I do look back at that kid and I'm like, wow, I was a really selfish asshole. But then I think like, well, why? And I don't know, trying to understand the position that you were in back then, looking back at it, does I think help you appreciate the journey that you've taken and the person that you've become. I don't know what point I'm trying to make with this. I think it was more that I was making fun of you for the way that you used to be, and trying to turn that into a positive and be like, well, you know, the fact that I can make fun of you for it now shows that you're not like that anymore, and it's something that we can laugh about.
I'm glad that I don't deal with my emotions by constantly drinking anymore. Check me out.
Woo! Well, not everyone, but most people, myself included, like to have a good drink every now and again. My body doesn't like me having a good drink every now and again.
I fucking hate my past self for being able to get up the morning after going out drinking all night and being fine.
Going straight back into the pub.
Yeah. I remember, this is a university story, so not really relevant to the podcast, but I'm going to tell it anyway. A bar that I used to go to in Wolverhampton used to do all-you-can-drink nights. You used to pay 20...
Was that Planet?
It was Planet,
Hell yeah.
You used to pay 20 quid to get in, and you would buy a cup, essentially, and then all of your drinks would be free.
That reminds me, this is like so far off topic, we're going into like in-joke status, but that reminds me, you know when we played D&D the other week and we did the Ravnica game?
Yeah.
I completely forgot, but when you guys went into the club, I was supposed to say you walk into Planet. Like, that was the joke that I was going to make. Because it immediately... I know it would have given you and possibly Drew, because I think he went at one point as well. And I think Alex went as well. It would have given you, like, an immediate visual
vibe.
image.
Yeah.
Because it was based...
Just really, like... Oh god.
I'll try and describe it like I would have done. It's basically you walk in and all you can see is like wood and scaffolding, like the platforms that you would stand on, all the places where people were dancing was just rickety ass scaffolding. That's all I can remember, and it was a death trap, and everyone loved it.
I don't understand how. I think it's still there. Like, I don't understand how it didn't fall down.
That place will survive until the end of time. I think it's like an eldritch phenomenon that just exists.
Because it wasn't like a pub. Like, if you're imagining like an Oceana where it's got its own building, it was like wedged in between two other buildings, and it looked like it could have been the back end of a fish and chip shop.
I had no idea where it was until you showed me. Thank you for that.
No problem.
But I was like, I walk past this every day on the way to uni. How did I not know that this whole ass club is just here?
It's just there.
But yeah, I feel like it should have been condemned a long time ago. But I have a feeling that whenever a health and safety expert walks in there, the entity just devours it, and that's how it sustains itself.
Oh my god! Oh, hold on, I've got to Google Planet now.
You see them the next week, but they're dressed as a member of staff and they're serving you a drink. It's an SCP. That's what it is. It's an SCP.
Oh, it said temporarily closed, and I was like, "What? No, everything's temporarily."
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's fucking idiot. Yeah, it's still there.
Of course it is. Like I say, it's gonna be there until the end of time.
I'm just looking at pictures of the outside of it, and I'm like, that's... It's changed. It definitely looks more like a nightclub now.
Yeah, like my memory has probably distorted it slightly into what I'm describing to you, but that's really what it felt like going in. Bearing in mind that I was probably already very drunk when walking in.
Well, we used to do... Like, Planet nights were also Babylon night. Babylon's definitely gone now.
Well, I mean, a lot of very unfortunate things happened in that club, which is probably why it's gone.
Ooh. Well,
Or am I thinking of
there's-
Oceania?
No, Oceania was
No,
another one.
Oceania's the one that I'm thinking of, where lots of very unfortunate things happen. No, I remember Babylon.
Babylon was the 90s bar
Yes.
that apparently turned into Pop World, which was a noughties bar.
Oh my
And then
god!
it closed
Because
down,
that was because
so-
you had a birthday thing there, and you were dressed as a Pokemon trainer, and
Yeah.
there's a photo of me from that night, and I don't understand, like, in that photo I'm like the thinnest that I ever looked, because that was when I was doing jitsu regularly. But there's this one photo where I literally look like 45 years old. I'll have to dig it out at some point. But I look at it and I'm just like, how? It must have just been unfortunate lighting or something, but it's hideous.
I don't know. Like, I think I look older in those. I think that was my 20th birthday. Was it my 20th birthday? It must have been.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think I look older then than I do 9 years later. And I don't know how that worked, to be totally honest. This is very off topic, I understand. But
I think that's fine. Like we're going to be going into some heavy stuff, so I think it's good that we're kind of bouncing it off silly stuff like this.
reminiscing of the 2009-2010 era.
Oh man, when we were both at uni and we were both doing anything but uni.
Pretty much. It was like, ooh, I could go to my lecture tomorrow, or I could get really drunk and end up somewhere that I don't know where I am.
Have you been to Wolverhampton like any time like recently?
I think the last time I went was probably 2012.
Bloody hell! I think Emily and I went. We were connecting on the way to somewhere else, and we had a layover of about an hour and a half or something. And I was just like, let's pop out. Let's have a look and see how much has changed. It's like a different place. It's weird. It's like this uncanny valley of it looks completely different, but at the same time exactly the same. It's like this weird juxtaposition. It's kind of like Birmingham, I suppose. Ever since Grand Central came in, it looks like this weird, like futuristic spaceship has landed where the train station was, but everything else.
But otherwise, yeah,
is
it's the same.
It's just so weird.
I should go back to Wolverhampton at some point. It's not like I'm never not in the area. It's just I don't, and I don't know why, because I have super fond memories of living there. Like I don't.
Going back was a nostalgia trip and a half. I'll tell you that much. The only thing that makes me really sad is so when I was there in my last year, I commuted from my hometown for the first 2 years, and in my final year I lived in student halls. And they had just been built the year that I moved in. So they were very shiny, brand spanking new, all nicey. You go past those buildings now that they're like over 10 years old, they are grubby as all hell. Like they just look really sad.
I wonder what the inside looks like.
Oh, I don't even want to know. But yeah, it's just kind of weird, like looking at it being like, oh, yeah, I don't remember it being that. Like, because the outside of the building is like this like off-white sort of cream color. And you know when buildings get old and they sort of get that brown staining at the top, where the rain has kind of weathered them over the years, and it's just like, oh, sad.
I think about my my room in halls, because I had to live in halls. I wasn't close enough to commute. But I think about my room in halls, and I remember like the last week I was in the first room that I lived in. I was like cleaning out under the desk, and I looked up for some reason, and there was like everyone who had lived there before had written something on this desk, like on the underside of it. I was like, that's cool. So I wrote something on there, and I keep wondering for some reason lately, I wonder if that's still there or if they tore that whole unit out. Like I don't know.
You never know. It'll be somewhere. The
so
evidence
if you're living
will
in
remain.
halls, you check under that desk, see if previous people who lived there wrote a dumbass message that was like, hell yeah, fucking drunk as shit, man, 2012.
See, I could have been the guy to like christen the underside of my desk.
Yeah, you would have been the first one.
But I didn't, because I was like, they're gonna know. They'll know it was me because I'm the only person that's lived in this room.
Yeah, I guess because yours was more like it was halls, but it was like private halls, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I was in the fancy halls.
And I was
and it
just
was
in like the university halls, and I don't think they really cared.
it was that weird thing where it was like the fancy they'd just been built, like I said, and there was just this moment in my brain where I was sick to death of commuting to uni every day because it was a 45-minute train ride and like a 40-minute walk on top of that. And I'd been doing that for 2 years, and then I saw this place being built, and I was just like, I want to live there. And then so I just like this. Oh my god, I was such like a privileged kid, but I just basically nagged at my mom and dad until they agreed to pay for me to live there.
Did you not get a loan for that or anything?
I mean, I had student loan, but it wasn't enough to cover my accommodation fees, because it was kind of frustrating because my parents were earning just enough for me to not qualify for any additional help beyond just the statutory student loan.
Right.
But they weren't earning enough to support me much more beyond that. So it was kind of awkward. Like they were just on the threshold, basically.
That's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Because like by that point, I know that like parents used to help their kids out and whatever, but it was like going from everything is paid to pay for everything.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, so I used to have like my food paid for, my bills paid for, didn't have to pay rent because I was a kid, obviously. And then you go to uni and it's like, okay, so I have £2,000, but 1,900 of that has to go towards accommodation.
Yeah.
How do I eat?
It's really daft, like the way that they try to make it so university is this sort of halfway experience between being like not responsible for anything in your life ever to suddenly being responsible for everything. And they wonder why so many students just fall into an abyss of alcoholism and just like constant like partying and doing everything, because they end up in this weird kind of position where I don't have to answer to anyone because my parents aren't around or whoever I'm living with at the time. So I can do whatever the hell I want, but at the same time I'm expected to do all of this stuff, but no one is holding me to it. So I'm just going to do what I want, and then suddenly consequences slap you in the face and you're living on bread and peanut butter for 3 months.
How many people do you think were like... Because I remember I didn't have money in my second year, so I literally was relying on other people to buy me food because I didn't have money. My loans didn't come through properly, so I remember John once bought me some scones, and I think they were like
we were on
the reduced scones.
Yeah, we were on
they were like 9p.
We were on the scone hype train for a long time because they were cheap, and yeah.
Yeah, because I remember after club we'd just go to Asda and like hang around for ages.
They're cheap. They're cheap. They're very dense, so you could eat like 2 and be full for ages. And they had raisins in, so I guess they were healthy.
It's got kind of a fruit, yeah. I guess.
1 of your 5 a day.
And I remember at club as well, we used to have like a paid for by the group toaster with bread. And I think that's where most of my meals came from, if I'm being completely honest, was that fucking toaster.
Well, somebody had to use it.
Yeah, it was me. It was literally just for me.
Talking about being a student and being caught in this weird void between responsibility and no responsibility, I think can pivot us quite nicely into the topic of anxiety.
So, anxiety is abound right now, I feel, in a lot of people. I do want to say that if you have the option, please do speak to your GP or a therapist or someone who's like actually qualified to help you deal with feelings like this, because, you know, that's what they're there for, that's what they're paid for. And if you're in the UK especially, we're in a very privileged position where we don't have to pay for it, so...
You just have to wait for a very long time for it.
Yes. But, you know...
But it's better than not having it at all.
Yeah.
Is the point that I'm trying to make. So I mean,
Yes.
You mentioned fibro before. My
Yeah.
my time kind of leading up to now being at home and like the struggles that I was facing before work as well. And you specifically have probably heard me mention it a few times, but I am on the waiting list for a what's the word? An assessment for ADHD.
Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I am based on the evidence and my own personal research and stuff, I'm pretty damn confident that I've got ADHD. I just need a person in a jacket to tell me that I have.
Yeah.
And that's, oh boy. So if you want to talk to someone about you picked the right person to talk to about anxiety, I think is the point that I'm trying to get at.
Well, when the topic was suggested, I was like, well, there's only one person.
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or be like,
Well,
what does that say about me?
One of the reasons is I feel like you're actually one of the people that I know who is the most open about anxiety. Because
Yes.
a lot of people do this thing where they're like, oh, feeling a bit anxious, but that's as much as I'm willing to say on the situation. Or
The
they
problem,
pretend that they don't have it entirely.
Yeah, the problem with anxiety and the problem that I definitely have with anxiety is it's one of those things where unless you are very aware of it and you stay very vigilant to your own mental state, it can creep up on you. And that happens to me a lot, especially when I'm working. So I'll get to a point where I am shaking, I can't focus at all, like I start to disassociate, and my brain just can't focus on anything, and kind of just pinballs between, like, I know I need to do something, like I know I need help, but I don't know what I need help with, I don't know what I can do to sort this out, what do I do, boom 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 boom, and it just gets worse and worse and worse until my brain implodes.
Yeah, I've definitely been in that position before as well.
Yeah, and unless you stay, and this is why I think it's very important, especially if you've got problems with anxiety, to just talk to people that you trust and kind of keep that line of communication open, because the more you talk about it, the easier it is to monitor it. And just sort of when you get things out, it's a lot easier to look at it rationally.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, actually. I remember probably about 4 years ago, I think, my anxiety was at its worst. But I wasn't displaying anxiety in ways that is typically shown, I guess. I wasn't having panic attacks where I was, like, hyperventilating, rocking back and forth and, like, freaking out and clearly freaking out. When I was having panic attacks regularly, it would be triggered by people being outside. And it would make me do dumb things outside that don't really make any sense, but at the time, it made perfect sense. So I would be out shopping on my own, and I would, be triggered into a panic attack by whatever it was. And instead of, doing the rational thing and going home, I just used to buy more food than I realistically could afford at the time. And I would just grab whatever I could off the shelf, and I would panic, and, then I'd be carrying too much, and that'd make me panic even more, so I'd be like, shit, what do I do? Buy more stuff. Let's buy more stuff. I need batteries. Fuck it, let's buy some batteries. And that would be, like, that was, like, one of the really weird times where I was like, okay, I think I might need some help. And then I got help. Because I make it sound like it's super simple. I went to my GP and told him about this experience I had. And he said that it was a panic attack, which I did not realise at the time.
They're not all. It's not always type events like with me, for example. It's disassociation.
Yeah.
I just completely check out of reality. So yeah, like I've experienced them myself as well, and kind of like what you're saying about talking to your GP. That's that was kind of the point that I was getting at with saying I'm getting an assessment for ADHD, because, like you say, we're really lucky in that you can go and talk to someone about it. And yes, I'm still waiting for that assessment. I've been waiting for, I want to say, 3 or 4 months at this point. And I know that it's probably going to be closer to a year before somebody actually speaks to me about it. But just knowing that it's probably going to happen at some point is enough of a reassurance. Because if they turn around and say, you know what, mate, you're talking absolute bollocks, you're perfectly fine, I mean, I won't believe them, but at least it'll kind of force me to look at maybe something. And they won't do that. They'd probably be like, because I know that there's something isn't right, but they might lead me down a different path.
Yeah, other avenues to explore. But also I realise saying talk to your GP, not the easiest thing to do right now, because my GP personally is only taking emergency calls. Mm-hmm. Even, like, if it's not related to the ongoing situation, you have to be really, really poorly before they will talk to you right now. Yeah. So I understand that, everyone's going through a hard time. There's going to be a lot of people that are seeking counselling and help, and I don't know that I have, like, a really great suggestion.
The only thing that I would say potentially is, and this is off the back of my own experience, is look for, like, local counsellors in your area. Maybe people who are, I mean, they're going to have to at the moment, otherwise they wouldn't make any money, but look for people who can do consultations via Zoom or on Skype, Discord, whatever, things like. I mean, I very much doubt that a counsellor will do a consultation over Discord, but I'd be very impressed if they did.
Do you think they'll play Overwatch with me? That's the question.
Best therapy. Anyway, the point that I'm making is just have a look and see how much they charge, because one thing that I've noticed through my own experience is there is a stigma with therapy that it's very expensive. Like, private therapy is very, very expensive. And while it is, it's maybe not as expensive as you might think it is. And sometimes just one session is all you need. There's so I had some sessions with a therapist that was fortunately provided to me through my workplace kind of health scheme. But that only paid for 4 sessions, and I was considering getting more. And so I looked it up, and she charged, I think it was like £45 a session. Yeah, and and that's the exact reaction that I had as well, whereas, like, I was expecting it to be upwards of £100, maybe even more. But no, it's if you get someone that's just kind of, they've got the qualifications and they're doing it, they realise that people can't afford it. You do get some people that charge ridiculous amounts of money for it, but not everybody does. And yes, £45 for an hour, maybe an hour and a half session is a lot of money, but it might... that to me enters the realm of, well, this is worth considering if I'm struggling. Like, that's, that's a train ticket that you might not be purchasing at this time of year, during this situation. Yeah. It's a lot more affordable than maybe I once assumed that it was.
I think that idea probably comes from American movies, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I think it is.
Oh, it's $200 to see this counselor.
Oh, it's definitely American. The American kind of characterization of healthcare as a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would at least look into it. And even just doing that on its own might help. You might not even need to speak to someone, just being reassured in the knowledge of, oh, okay, well, if I am struggling, I can drop £45 on a counselling session that, I can talk to someone. I can talk to someone whose job it is to talk to people. That alone might help push you over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is probably worth considering if you need it. I was fortunate in an unfortunate circumstance last year where my sister passed away from a long illness, and we got counselling for that immediately. Like, every single person in the family was offered counselling straight away. And I only ever went through with the one session because I felt kind of okay after that session, so it doesn't have to be like an ongoing expense if you think,
no.
You know, I need someone to talk to like all the time because I'm just so anxious or whatever. Like, it can just be a one and done kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that option, talking to friends is also another option that you can look into, I guess.
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful when you lean on your friends. You have to make a conscious decision and be like, right, well, if I'm going to share my problems with my friends, I need to make sure that I'm mentally capable, or mentally, what's the word that I'm looking for? Able to be an avenue for them as well.
Yeah. I think the other thing as well is don't just go, hey friend, now it's been a while, but I feel like shit. And then, like, don't give them some warning if you are going to talk about them, because not everyone is going to be in a good headspace to talk about these things right now.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of people do, and people that I know as well are very good at doing this thing where they go, "Hi friend, here's all my problems. Bye." And I'm just like, right, okay. And it's not fair. Like, it isn't fair. Like, yes, fair enough. You might be struggling and you need some help, but kind of making someone else kind of take part in that while simultaneously not allowing them to do the same with you isn't fair. And, trying to put this as nicely as possible, this isn't just about you. Like, we all have to work together. It's something that I'm coming to learn very, like, even myself. Like, I'm seeing things online and kind of being forced to reconsider the way that I think about things. Reconsider things, like programmed behaviors, just as a result of where I grew up and who I grew up around. And the big takeaway for me is just that, like, I'm not the main character of the world. Like, there are other people that you need to think about and consider. And yes, we all need help at times, and we all need a shoulder to lean on. But you have to be prepared to do the same for other people. Yeah,
100% agree. Which again, I realised when I was sort of in that grieving, well, I say was in, still am, but when I was immediately in that grieving situation, and I was like, hey, friend, my world sucks right now, and here's why. And then I had a friend who came back with kind of a petty problem in comparison, but it was still a problem that he was having, and I needed to be okay with him talking about that problem while I was talking about mine, even in that situation.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. It's hard when you feel anxious to listen to other people's problems, but if they are doing you the courtesy of listening to you, you should listen to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one's expecting you to have the answer to every problem that someone has, but just listening might be enough to help them, and it might be enough for you to vent and for them to listen to you as well.
Yeah, and I'm by no means am I saying you need to be prepared to do it immediately. Maybe just after you've asked someone to be a sounding board for things that you're struggling with. After you're done, and hopefully they've helped you feel a bit better, you can be like, "Hey, I really appreciate what you've done for me. Just so you know, I'm available for you to reach out to if you're struggling as well. Just keep that door open. You don't need to be ready to do it right away. It's just something to bear in mind. Because obviously, I don't want for one second for people to think that, oh, I'm I need help, I want to ask my friends for help, but if I don't immediately say, oh, what are you struggling with, are you okay, that you're being selfish, that's not what I'm saying at all. It's just try and be mindful of other people.
Yeah, I think that's just generally good life advice, not just for right now, just in general.
And it's hard. Like, I'm struggling with it every day. Like, there are times when I will do something or I will say something, and then maybe a couple of hours later, I mean, I am awful for over-analyzing my past behavior, but there'll be moments where I just go, oh shit, I didn't consider X, Y, Z. And as a result, maybe the thing that I said came across as a bit insensitive. But you can only do what you can do, and you sometimes need other people to steer you right. You can't be expected to do the right thing 100% of the time. But as long as you're trying, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think I'm very fortunate in the fact that I have a good friendship circle who will listen when I need to talk. And I think they know that they can come to me as well. So I'm very fortunate in the fact that just in general, we've got a pretty good friend group going on.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
So I think having just if you have a support network, then do make the most of it. If you need, but also don't forget to give back some investment, I guess. So I don't know. It's a really weird one to talk about because there's not like a solution that's just like, oh, just fucking feel better. Yeah. Why don't you just feel better?
It's all
stop being anxious.
Yeah, it's all very nebulous and difficult. And unfortunately, there are going to be people out there, maybe even people listening to this, that don't feel like they have the support network that we do, and that's really sad. And I'm really sorry if you're going through that. And I don't know what to suggest either, because it's very easy for me in my position to say, oh, just reach out, but that's not fair to say. But
if you don't have like a good place to reach out to, then what? Like,
maybe I just consider all of your avenues, and maybe consider speaking to someone that you maybe wouldn't normally. The other thing that I can possibly suggest, I don't know how effective it would be, but I know it has been useful to me and others in the past, is write it down. Like if you're struggling and you're feeling anxious, take those feelings and write them down. It works in a very similar way to talking to someone, in that you're taking what's going around inside your brain and you're making it physical, like you're making it real.
I guess in theory that would make it easier to rationalize how it is that you're feeling.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And you do it, and once it's done, you throw it away. Like you get it all out on paper and rationalize it, because it's not the thing being written that matters. It's the act of writing it and the act of, like you say, rationalizing it out. That's what's important. So then you don't want to dwell on it, so you just take that piece of paper and you throw it away, or you take that file and you get rid of it. I think it's recommended to physically write it rather than type it, but
I guess there's more satisfaction in throwing that bit of paper in the bin than there is in moving a file to the recycling bin or whatever.
It's the physical action, and like the fact that your brain is kind of focusing on the action and converting your thoughts into a physical motion. But like I say, it's not like the be all and end all. You can type it if you want. It's very similar. I just think that some people have said that it's more effective if you physically write it, but some people might not be able to do that. So, you use whatever tools you have access to. What's important is that you do the thing.
Yeah, I think yeah.
But
I think that's
again,
a good bit of advice.
Like we touched on at the start of this, neither Ebby nor I are therapists, so take what we say with a pinch of salt. If you think it will help, then by all means. But obviously, you've got to take what we say with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and again, if you are really struggling, please do talk to someone, whether it's a friend or a professional. Especially the professional thing, if you can. That's going to help you way more than this podcast can. But another thing that I actually wanted to touch on, sort of threads on, I guess, is the things that personally trigger my anxiety, and that is sleep, or lack of,
Yep,
and boredom. How is your sleep going when we're in this like weird time in between real life and not?
It's not too bad. And I think part of that is because, again, like, I'm quite fortunate in that I've got my work, so I sort of have a pre-programmed schedule that I need to keep. So there's that. But in saying that, it's very easy for me to now, basically, before lockdown happened, my routine was I'd get up at 5 a.m. I'd be in the shower and I would have something to eat, and I'd be out of the house by 6 o'clock. Because I had to walk 40 minutes from my house to my colleague's house, and then he would give me a lift into work, because we live quite a way away from the office, and tram tickets are expensive, yo. And he just said, yeah, if you're at my house in time for when I leave for work, then I'll give you a lift. So that's kind of what my routine was, and then I'd work until 4. We were at the office at some ridiculous, like, we'd be there by like 7:15. And we'd work until 4, and then he'd give me a lift home. I'd walk home, and then because I was getting up so early, I was going to bed like 10, half 10 every night.
Yeah.
That routine has changed quite dramatically since the lockdown, but it still has the basic kind of things in that I may not get up at 5 anymore, but my alarm goes off at 7. I'm usually out of bed by about past. I have a shower, I have something to eat, and I turn my computer on and send the email to say that I'm at work, or I'm working at about, in time for 8 o'clock. But I might, do some bits and bobs. But it would be very similar to if I arrived at work for 8 o'clock, or whenever. You have your routines, you have things that you do. I'd maybe have something to eat. I'd maybe get a brew. I would do odds and sods before I kind of really get down to the nitty gritty. So I do that. I announce myself, and then I will sort of do what I need to do to wake up and get ready for work. And then I still finish at 4. But the nice thing about the way things are right now is, obviously, before I would finish at 4 and I wouldn't be home until 5:30. Whereas now...
And now you're just like
yeah,
home.
it's like, oh, I finished work. Bang, I'm here. Which is great. But I've also found that because of that, I do find that I'm drifting later and later in my sleep schedule, and I find that I'm usually going to bed about 11, half 11 these days, which when I'm getting up at 7 isn't bad, but it's not quite enough. I really need to be going to bed at 11 on the dot, I think, to make sure that I'm getting enough sleep. Because you're right, like, lack of sleep is possibly the single worst thing in the universe. I'm over exaggerating slightly, but the reason why I say that is because you don't notice what it does to you until it's too late. You'll have one night where you stay up a bit late and you'll feel a bit shit in the morning, but you kind of have that connection of, oh, well, it was because I stayed up late, it's fine. The trouble is your body is designed to get used to that. Like, your body is incredible in that if you're not sleeping, it will find ways to make sure that you stay alive despite you not getting the sleep that you need. But it builds up. Like, the effects of doing that put strain on your body, it puts strain on your mind, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on your perspective, the real effects of that take a long time to manifest, to the point where you might not realize that the problems that lack of sleep is causing you is a direct result of that. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's very slow, it's very gradual, but it's very crippling.
Have you ever been, like, so tired that you felt physically sick?
Yeah. Not often, but it's happened.
I experienced that for the first time in a while the other day. Because I was trying to sort out my sleeping schedule. So I'd had probably about 4 hours sleep or something stupid, like not enough. And I know someone's going to be like, "Oh, I live off of 3 hours sleep a night."
It's not a fucking accolade. Take your medal and shove it up your ass. Like, that's great for you, but you're probably slowly destroying yourself.
Yeah, sleep is so important. But I was like, I'm going to fix my sleeping schedule. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do stuff. And I'm going to, like, go to bed at a normal time and not 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be an adult and it's going to be great. I got out of bed. I had breakfast. And then I was just, like, sat in my chair all day, just, like, shaking because I was so tired.
It's horrible.
And I had to have a nap. Like, it didn't help.
I'm going to take us back. I'm going to take us on a journey to, I want to say about 2015, 2016, when, so for anyone who doesn't know, you probably do if you've been listening to this podcast, but my wife is American, and it's only been a couple of years since she moved to the UK on a more permanent basis. So before then, she was in US time zone, and I was in UK time zone. So we were about 8 hours apart from each other, and it was hell because we had very, very small windows where we could communicate, and unfortunately my response to that was to sacrifice my sleeping. And there were other factors as well, like because I was talking with her so much, I was talking a lot more with her friends and like people that she'd connected with. This was back in the days when I was balls deep in the Undertale fandom, which let's not talk about that too much. But the
Why
point,
not?
no, it was fine. It did what I needed it to do at the time. That's the mantra that I keep repeating to myself. But the point that I'm making is I was sacrificing my physical and mental well-being to spend more time with my wife and also spend time with these people that I'd got to know really well. Kari, as you know, is one of them. So I made some really worthwhile friendships as a result of that. But it reached a point where I reached a point of no return where I physically couldn't go to sleep before a certain point. And the point where it got the absolute worst, I was going to bed at 4 a.m. every morning. So, and like kind of like as you were laughing about before, like I was maybe getting 3 hours sleep a night, and there was a period of about nearly a month where I was only getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night because I was so like, I don't want to sacrifice my time with my friends because of work. And that mindset that was very self-destructive. Like, yeah. I was saying like, oh, you know, I don't want work to get in the way of my friendships, but that was just an excuse. Like I didn't want to face the reality of I was being selfish, and my selfishness was literally destroying my body. Oh my God, I was so unwell. Like, I was ill all the time. I wasn't eating properly. I gained loads of weight. I was really grouchy, snappy all the time. I couldn't focus on anything. My anxiety was through the roof. And the worst part is, and this is one of the other really annoying things about anxiety, is you develop ways of hiding it, not just from other people, but from yourself. And that's kind of what happened to me. I convinced myself that I was fine, and it all came to a head when I'd managed to kind of fake it to a point where I got promoted. And I got promoted to a team leader position, and that's when everything came tumbling down, because the additional level of responsibility and the anxiety that came from that, doubled with the fact that I wasn't sleeping, and I'd already had all this other stuff floating around in the background. I had a fucking breakdown. And that was that was the point where I really went like, oh shit, I've done this to myself. And that is why, that's why when I'm in chats with people, and I didn't mean to get so aggressive when you made that joke earlier, but when people talk about not getting enough sleep, or when people talk about how little they need to sleep, as if it's a fucking victory that they've claimed over Nodens, the god of sleep himself, it makes me really angry because of the physical and emotional turmoil that I went through, and other people go through as a result of, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you get insomnia, and as much as you want to sleep, you can't, and it fucks you up. It's not something to be proud of. It's probably something you should get looked at, because it will sneak up on you.
Funnily enough, that's kind of what I'm going through at the minute, is a really odd bout of insomnia. Luckily for me, my weekends are actually kind of busy right now with recording this podcast, D&D, streaming, all of that stuff. So I have a reason more to get up on the weekends.
Yes.
And I managed to do that today. I think I probably slept about 6 hours last night, and I managed to get up, and I feel pretty good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I suppose I did, otherwise I wouldn't have interrupted you. But besides the point is, routine really helps.
Yes, I agree fully, because if I didn't have anything, if we weren't recording this podcast, I would have stayed in bed until about, 2.
Yeah.
And then I would have got ready for streamed, played D&D, gone back to bed, stayed awake until 5.
It's one of those things, because I didn't have work tying me down. But when I was at uni, despite everything being kind of up in the air and kind of airy-fairy and stuff, I did still sort of have a routine, which I think is maybe
I remember when we met, you had a routine of staying at Liam Paul's a few times a week.
Yeah, and I did that, and when I was this was kind of when I was in halls as well, I would stay up until 4 a.m. and I wouldn't get up until 11. So my sleeps, I was maybe more nocturnal than others, but kind of within that day I would kind of have a sort of structure. It doesn't really matter, as some people will say, oh, sleeping in the day in the nighttime hours is better for you, and yes, that is true, but it's more the amount of sleep that you get is more important. The amount of restful sleep that you get is more important. Emily and I use white noise. We have...
Yes, we were talking about this last week. Sleep aids.
Yeah, we have, heaven forbid, we have an Alexa in our bedroom.
Don't say a name.
Alexa, tell me a joke. We'll see how many people get that. Or what is it Alan likes to do? Alexa, set a reminder for 10 minutes. Willy poo bum bum. Anyway, you can give her a skill, which is ambient sounds, and we use that. So I used to use YouTube. I used to get YouTube up on my phone and put like a 2-hour, 4-hour ambient sound thing on to help me go to sleep. But, and I don't know if you would find this as well, that in of itself would give me anxiety, because I am fucking terrified of screamers.
Oh.
And
right.
Yeah, and my thing would be, if it was one that I'd never used before, I would struggle to go to sleep, because I'd be like, what if there's something? What if there's some horrible joke halfway through? And so I would before I used a new YouTube video for ambient noise, I would look at the like to dislike ratio, I would look at the comments, and I would scrub through the comments for half an hour, just being has anyone said anything untoward? And then it would be ages before I go right, okay, I think this one is trustworthy, I'll give it a try. And even then I'd be what if? But right, my fears came to it, my fears aren't unfounded, because they do exist. I can't remember.
Whoever makes those, bad people.
There was one that I found that was it was a bathtub, and the comments were all just what the fuck? Because there was a bit 10 minutes before the end where they hadn't done anything, there was nothing jumped out at you or anything, but they changed the sound, so like they like turned up the volume so it was all like bit crunched and crackly and horrible. They basically just made it really fucking loud right at the end. And yeah, it's just, why did people do this?
I don't know. That sounds mean.
And
for no reason.
The channel, I don't know if the channel's up anymore, and I'm not going to go out of my way to find it, but I think they were trying to do like, it was some lead in to some ARG or something, because the rest of their videos were all really weird and clearly trying to do something like that. And I was just like, fuck off. Like, you can't do things like that. It's not cool, man.
One of the things that I had to get out of the habit of, because I just used to watch whatever when I was going to sleep, because I can apparently sleep through fucking anything. And about 6 months ago, I got really, really, really into watching GTA 5 RP, which is
amazing.
where you have a character and they fucking RP them. So you'll have like police officers, you'll have people who do crimes, they'll have businesses and whatever. It's super cool. But I used to fall asleep watching like a particular couple of police officers on this particular server. But what happened is, I now know that I can sleep through police sirens very easily.
Okay.
But one of the things that happened was a lot of people in that server started playing another game called Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah.
Which is a very loud game with guns. And all of the people in this server had obviously set it up so that they were auto-hosting each other. So that one would go offline, you'd have like 2 hours of silence, and I'd be fucking dead asleep, and then all of a sudden I'd be woken up to some of the most realistic gun sounds
What's
that
up,
I've ever heard.
Let's play Escape from Tarkov!
So I'd wake up like having a panic attack because I was hearing these like fucking realistic gun sounds in my ears, so I had to stop doing that.
Oh, dear.
And now I watch videos about speedruns instead.
That reminds me of is it my boy Carl Jobst, or however you
I
pronounce his
literally
surname?
just found his videos the other day.
I love that guy.
Absolute legend.
Yeah, and he's so passionate about it as well, but he's so like reserved in his delivery of his video. Oh, highly recommend it. I love that guy so much. He's great. Go check him out. He did a video on the Doom hangar level speedrun, and that's kind of what got me interested in him. Fascinating video, and his presentation is it's just unlike anyone else. And he just
very calming.
he just seems like a top bloke. He just had a babby. What a guy.
Oh, I'll link to him in the description. I'm sure he doesn't need a podcast that gets like 50 views.
Every little helps.
But, you know, if you want to learn about some speedruns, you can learn why Majora's Mask is not fun to watch anymore.
Yeah, that was a really good video. The thing I like about him is he goes into such detail. And also, like, he does it himself, so he kind of gives you the insider, like, me as a speedrunner, this is how I consider it. Like, one of the ones that he did was pretty interesting. He did one on, there's a certain, like, GoldenEye 64 speedrun. And it was one that he did himself, so it kind of gave a really interesting perspective on that. You can tell that we're both really into speedruns.
Yeah. I'm sad that GDQ or SGDQ is clearly not going to happen, but
it's one of those weird things. I don't really follow any speedrunners in particular, but I do enjoy watching the videos. When there's nothing else to watch, I'll just crack a speedrun on.
Yeah.
And it is interesting.
Time to time.
It's interesting how much of it hinges on the runner themselves, how entertaining they are, and sometimes the game as well. Because, like, Emily and I really wanted to watch a Sonic Heroes speedrun. That is not a fun game to watch being speedrun. Oh my god, it's so boring.
I don't think I've ever seen one before.
There aren't many of them, and that's probably why.
It's just a really boring speed game.
It is just a really boring speed game.
Oh.
Like, there are a couple of interesting tricks, but beyond that, there's nothing really to it.
Kind of like Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Which used to be one of my favourite speed games to watch, and now it's just... It sucks because they found this new, like... I don't think it was a debug menu glitch, but it was something akin to that. where it's just not fun to watch. You can get warped to the moon really quickly, and that's not fun. But anyway, that I listen to speedrun videos as my sleep aid now.
Yeah.
So like Easyscape, Apollo Legend, your boy Call, Summoning Salt, Average Trade did some videos about Super Mario Sunshine. They were really good. Those are the sorts of things that I watch to go to sleep.
They're all really good. Like I've seen videos by all of those guys, and yeah, they're all really good to watch. Yeah, I recommend all of them.
Yeah, same. Maybe I'll link all of them in the description. Who knows?
If you're having trouble sleeping, watch these speedrunning videos. Yeah,
it's not to say that they're boring. It's just they're very calming.
I had a phase before I kind of started using ambient noise where I would watch the Game Grumps play Kirby's Dream Course, the Kirby golfing game for the SNES, because some fans made like a Game Grumps mod version of it, which had like hundreds of levels. So the playlist that they've got for Kirby's Dream Course is huge, and it's just fun, and it's chilled out, and it's a game that they both really enjoy, that they play together, and yeah, I used to sleep to that.
Hell yeah. Game Grumps used to be one for me as well, but then every so often they would rage, and that would wake me up.
Yeah,
so...
but that's why Dream Course is good, because that doesn't really happen all that often. There are moments where they'll kind of get like, oh, what the fuck, but it's as far as I can recall, there isn't any kind of like there's no like Super Mario Sunshine pachinko machine level range.
No,
because that's gone down in like legend as one of the best breakdowns ever.
Well, listen, if you play the pachinko level in Super Mario Sunshine, you understand that rage.
Oh yeah, and that's why it's very hashtag relatable.
Yeah, in general, though, sleeping is super hard because a lot of us don't have routines, so we're like, oh, I guess I'll stay up till 5 because that's when Animal Crossing resets. I think I said that last week.
You got it.
But slowly I've been inching that down just by like a quarter of an hour every night or whatever. So we're getting there.
You just gotta try, and it is really hard when you haven't got anyone to like answer to, and you haven't got like a job or a preset structure to adhere to, like school or whatever. It is tough, and it's like I said, you sometimes get into a stubborn mindset. Like when I worked retail, oh dear God, I worked retail for about 3 years, and again, it wasn't good for my mental health because I got myself into this mindset where I was like, no, I finished my shift. I'm going to have some time for cam. I don't care how tired I am. I'm going to stay up and I'm going to play World of Warcraft because I want to. And if I'm tired at work the day after because of that, I don't care. I'm taking cam time. And it wasn't good.
Did you know the best cam time you could take was a nap?
Yeah, well, exactly. And that was the thing. Like, I've since coming out of that mindset, I've come to appreciate that it's better to have 5 hours of free time where you're fully awake and you have like, you're not anxious, you're able to really truly appreciate it, and get the most out of it. I think that's the point. Whereas forcing yourself to stay up and do whatever because you can and because you want to maybe is a bit short-sighted.
Yeah. Definitely went through that in uni, so I definitely understand
it's hard
where that comes from.
Yeah, it's really tough and it's really frustrating when especially when you're older, and you see people that you know that maybe don't have as many obligations as you do. Let's take Final Fantasy VII Remake. Actually, no, a better example, because that was kind of around the time of the lockdown, and I had a lot more time to play that quickly. Kingdom Hearts 3 is probably a better example,
right?
Because that was when I was still kind of in my routine of I was getting up at 5 and going to bed at 10. So I had a lot less time to play games. Yeah. And Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and everyone was playing it, and it was so hard to see people like on Twitter or whatever talking about it I basically had to mute everyone on my timeline because people can't fucking control themselves, and they will just post spoilers. And I was like, I don't want those, but I want to kind of be able to experience the game in my own time.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous because people who are in that position, it really is a big temptation to, well, if you stay up, you can play as much Kingdom Hearts as you want, and maybe you can keep up with these people that don't have the same kind of routine as you do. Maybe they have a bit more free time. Maybe they're a streamer and playing games is their job. Like, the temptation really is there, and you've got to try your damnedest not to get suckered into that.
Yeah. I definitely felt that more last year because, to be fair, my general day-to-day life does not have the amount of obligations that someone who works a full-time job has. So there is that. But last year, when it was before... I hate bringing this up, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. It was before we got proper care for my sister, so it was me and my mum taking it in turns to look after her. So my mum would do 2 days because she wanted to be there as much as possible, and I would do 1, and then she would do 2, I would do 1. But on those 2 days that I wasn't looking after her, I was pretty self-destructive because I think at the time Dragon Quest Builders 2 had just come out, which I wanted to play all of as quickly as possible because Fire Emblem Three Houses came out directly afterwards. So, like, I got into that really harmful routine of thinking, oh, I've done this, like, really long, hard day of looking after someone who needs looking after. So I'm going to treat myself and I'm going to abuse my own body and play Fire Emblem because I want to.
Treat yourself at the expense of your own health. And I think that's what it is. It's indulgence.
Yeah. That, to be fair, as well, was also a mental escape as well as just...
Yeah, that was a very...
being a twat.
I mean, that was a kind of a very difficult circumstance.
Yeah.
So,
I would not wish that on anybody.
Yeah. And
I can understand in hindsight why I did it. I just shouldn't have done it.
Exactly. And it's one of those things as well where it takes a long time to fix. So for me, I'm trying to think when the kind of, because annoyingly it wasn't when I talked about like having that breakdown at work. That wasn't the moment that made me go, I need to sort my sleeping pattern out. I can't actually remember what the turning point was. I just remember that I reached a point where I was like, holy shit, I need to do something about my sleep. I think it was just because I tried everything else. And I realized that sleep was the one thing that I was kind of being willfully ignorant. Like, I knew that I wasn't getting enough sleep, but I was refusing to deal with that. Very similar to I'm gluten intolerant, and I was trying for the longest time to ignore it or pretend that it was something else.
When I sniggered then when you said you're gluten intolerant, I knew you were going to mention your sort of like haphazard diet that you had probably about a year.
I tried... It
wasn't because you were just gluten intolerant.
No, my path to figuring that out was a long one, and it resulted in me doing some very strange things, and I was just, the trouble is I was pinballing from thing to thing because I didn't want to accept the fact that it was gluten. Because I tried it once before, and it was horrible, because there were just so many things that I couldn't eat anymore. And it wasn't until a few months ago when I went, right, I need to have a proper go at this, because it's the only thing that I've not tried now. Because what happened was, I'd be like, right, I think I'm gluten intolerant, so I'll cut it out of my diet. And then when I realized that there were things that I wanted that I couldn't have, I'd be like, oh, well, I'll just have one thing. I'll just have this one cookie. It's fine. What one won't hurt, right? It does hurt. And the most annoying thing about it is you don't know until 24 hours later. And I think that was why I really struggled with it, because I'm used to having immediate reactions to things. But
Yeah, it's
like,
not like a penicillin
no.
allergy where you're like, oh, I'm immediately swelling,
Yeah.
so I guess I'll stop taking this penicillin.
Exactly, yeah, like gastrointestinal problems like that. It does take a while for it to kind of really take effect. I was very naughty earlier this week, and I had one of Emily's cookies, which very much has wheat in. And I felt it 2 days later. It made me very grouchy. It made me very bloated and awful, and I got hives on my wrist, and it wasn't fun. And that's unfortunately what I've got to deal with. But
you just got to put it into perspective. Was that cookie worth it?
yeah. But the point that I'm making is stuff like that, like fixing sleep schedules, fixing diets, things like it takes a long time for the benefits to really emerge.
Yeah.
Which makes it very easy to slip back. And you just got to persevere. Go to bed.
Go
now.
To bed. I think another thing that plays into mood as well, now that you bring it up, is also diet, which I realise is really difficult to talk about at this specific moment when we're having food supply issues. Like, we got a Morrison's order today, and they fucking did not put anything in that I really, really wanted.
The amount of pizza that Emily and I have consumed over the past 5 weeks, I don't want to put a firm number on it.
It's a lot of pizza.
It's a lot of pizza. It's all, but all of mine are gluten-free, before anyone asks. Just, gluten-free
pay extra
basis.
for that gluten-free crust.
It's good, man. Anyway, it's a Goodfellas gluten-free pepperoni and ham pizza from Tesco. Oh, it's the shit.
But the thing with diet is it's just a hard thing to maintain right now. But I would also suggest that if you can possibly, don't live off noodles and pasta and rice, because although those things are great to have in the cupboard for when you need a meal, if you're having pasta every night, you're gonna feel bad. Especially you can, but you're gonna feel bad.
Well, yes, but honestly, I think that was the hardest thing, was moving away from pasta. I think that was the main reason why I didn't want to give up gluten, because I was like, I don't want to give up pasta.
Pasta's great for just being like a filling meal, but it's not very nutritious or anything.
I live on rice now. Like, rice is it's everything to me. Would you choose rice over pasta if you had the choice? These days, what if it wasn't gonna screw me over? You mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably would go back to pasta. But I've got a newfound appreciation for rice. Let's just say that. What was I going to say? I'm gonna drop some cam facts. So, CAMFAX. The secret passed down from me to you. I was going to say generation to generation, but it's literally just me saying something. Buy frozen food. Do it.
Yeah.
There's a big stigma, for some reason, against frozen food, like frozen meat and stuff, and frozen vegetables. Do it. You can buy a lot, it keeps for ages, and there really isn't that much difference between buying frozen and buying fresh these days, because everything is frozen immediately.
We started freezing bread very recently, which is something I've never done before. But man, it keeps it really fresh.
Yeah, whack it in the freezer.
Honestly surprised.
Whack it in the freezer, buy frozen. It's cheaper, it keeps for longer, and like I say, it doesn't make that much difference. I highly recommend it, even if you just kind of buy some stuff in just to have in the freezer in case you need it.
Yeah.
Do it. If you live in the UK, like Emily and I shop at Farm Foods fairly regularly, because they do awesome deals where you can get like, so you won't relate to this as much, Evie, but you can get like 3 different big packs of frozen meat for like a tenner. You can get 5 bags of veg for like £5. Like potato based things, you can get a load of them on the big cheap, and it's just good to have. And
I wish I had a bigger freezer, to be honest. I don't have a big enough freezer for all of the food that I want to keep.
It's just good to have stuff like that, and like veg is good because it's filling and it's good for you. I
don't think I've ever appreciated like fruit and vegetables more than I've appreciated it recently.
I'm going to abuse my mixer for a second. Broccoli.
I recently got into broccoli.
Good.
I started roasting broccoli.
Yes. I'm so proud of you.
Here's the recipe. You chop up your broccoli, you put it in a bowl with some olive oil, put some salt and pepper on it, whack it in the oven for 20 minutes, and it's delicious. It's so good.
That does sound amazing.
Put some garlic on it as well, actually. Garlic as well.
I'm so proud of you.
Because
yes.
I notoriously fucking hate vegetables.
Yes. You are a vegetarian that hates vegetables. It's a paradox that's perplexed me for many years.
But as it turns out, I do like them. I was just stubborn.
Yes. I'm so happy.
Me. It's but I ordered like two broccolis in this Morrison's order that we got today, and they sent me bagged broccoli, which I've never used before. So hopefully that's still fine.
It should be fine. Like fresh stuff does. There is something about like fresh broccoli, for example, does taste better than frozen broccoli. That's partially because obviously because of the process of defrosting and whatever, and you've got to boil vegetables that are a bit soggy when they come out. But the thing you got to think about, and this was kind of a mental shift that I did a while ago, is food is fuel. If it tastes nice and you like it, great. But you got to kind of separate food out into, this is the food that I eat because I enjoy eating it, and this is the food that I eat because it keeps me alive, and keeps me healthy and keeps me feeling good. And vegetables definitely fits in that category of because it just gives you more, you get more energy per bit out of broccoli or spinach or whatever than you do out of anything else.
Spinach is one of those things where I'm like, I don't enjoy eating this, but I know I should eat it.
Yeah, man, do it.
So I do now.
And the thing with spinach is you can just chuck it in with anything else and you won't even notice it.
Yeah. Because I don't know, I think everyone got this weird stigma by watching Popeye that, like...
But look at what it does
came out of a can and it looked really gross.
But look at what it did to him. He got the big muscles and he could, like, punch the world. And
he did, but they did not make it look appetizing when he was
but look at the results, man. And that's actually what happens when you eat spinach, by the way. It's not like that cartoon is based in reality.
Get swole.
Yeah, man. Do it. So
I would recommend looking into local greengrocers as well, because I got this. I've very recently gotten into mushrooms as well, like normal, not like shroomy mushrooms, just like mushrooms. And I got some of the nicest mushrooms that I've ever had.
Mushrooms are good.
And it was only like a little bit more expensive than it would be from Morrison's for like normal mushrooms. So I started making mushroom stir fry with like carrot and mushroom noodle. Put an egg in there. It's great. This is I'm enjoying life.
This is the thing that I'll say as well, just for the people out there who maybe are struggling financially because of what's going on. Frozen vegetables are very, very cheap, and they are very, very filling. I know it probably sounds a bit shit to just have a plate of heated like vegetables for your dinner or whatever, but it will go so much further for you than a sandwich would, and it will be cheaper as well.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing, is your diet. Keep it in check.
This is all stuff that I've learned kind of on the path to trying to control my anxiety, because ultimately, let's break it down and call it out for what it is. Anxiety is, like, when you really think about it, it's all about control. It's like, they say that anxiety is like the fear of things that haven't happened, and a big part of that is a fear of a loss of control. And that's why you feel it when you don't know what's going to happen, because you can't control what's going to happen.
Yeah. And
usually that's why anxiety reactions take the forms that they do. Like you panic buying stuff is you can definitely tell that's like an anxiety driven thing, because you can control what you buy. Like you have the ultimate power over being like, well, I'm going to buy that because it's the right thing to do. You are exerting your control over the world around you as a means to try and deal with the things that you can't.
Which also, just to interject, was one of the ways that I used to cope with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Alan can attest to this because he was there every time I used to do it. I used to buy stuff to make myself feel better.
Yes.
Be like, I'm anxious, so I'm gonna buy this figure,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna buy this set of card sleeves.
I would
whatever.
I would do the exact same thing, and it's why I've got a massive pile of shit next to me that I don't know what to do with. I don't want to sell it.
You know what I found?
Go on.
Is that I am trying this year in general was supposed to be what I was calling a low buy year, because I really just want to get a better handle on my finances. And one of the best things that I've ever done is clear out all that stuff that I bought when I was anxious, because I don't need it. It was an impulse buy that made me feel better for 2 minutes, and then I got it, and then it was whatever.
Yeah. And you really find
so getting rid of that stuff is great.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic in a way.
You find that as well, like, when I'm going through stuff sometimes now, I'll pick up a figure that I bought in a similar kind of panic buy fashion, and I'll just be like, I have no emotional connection to this.
Yeah.
And it sucks. So I think my plan now is I'm going to, when things have eased off, I'm going to reorganize the flat in such a way that there's plenty of space to display stuff, and I'll be like, right, everything that goes up is clearly shit that I care about because I've chosen to put it up. Anything that's left over needs to go. Yeah.
That's exactly what I've been trying to do.
Yeah. But yeah, the point that I was making is you obviously, while you're doing like anxiety reactions and things like that, it's very short-sighted and can be quite self-destructive. If you try and exert control over your life in more meaningful, smaller steps, it can lead to big positive changes. So for me, one of the things, like I said, was just trying to sort out my sleeping schedule and just being a bit stricter on when I go to bed. Then it was like sorting my diet out, and it was one thing at a time. You don't have to change your entire lifestyle overnight. Do one thing, do the next thing, and just kind of let it slowly build up to what you think you need it to be. So yeah, like sleep, food, they're all things that can be easily tweaked over time. Don't put pressure on yourself, and you will find as time goes by, it makes things a lot easier. One of the things that I did when I was feeling extremely anxious one night, this was a couple of years ago now, when I was still in our old flat, was I shaved my head, which is quite common actually.
Yeah.
Because again, it was...
I wouldn't know.
Well, yeah, but men, I think. It's quite common among men, especially men who have got male pattern baldness, such as myself. I was sat alone. I was just like sat in my room, and I was like having a real self-conscious like phase where I just hated the way I looked. And it was kind of when I was still trying to hide the fact that I had male pattern baldness very poorly.
Right.
And it was reaching a point where, because again, I was really stressed, I wasn't getting enough sleep, I wasn't eating properly, so that problem was getting worse. I've had male pattern baldness for a very long time. Like, it started happening when I was about 16, 17. So obviously being very young and being very conscious of my appearance as a teenager, that has kind of reverberated into my adult life. And I eventually reached a point where I was so angry and I was so fed up with it, I just went, fuck it, and shaved it all off. And it was so liberating to do that. To a point now where I do it regularly. And because it was a source of... and my brain went, this is a source of anxiety that I don't need. Like, it's purely been created out of what I think looks good, and like what I'm trying to emulate, but it's clearly not me. Like, it's causing me more harm than good, holding on to my hair. So yeah, I just got rid of it, and kind of ever since then, I have moments where I look back at pictures of myself on Facebook when I had long hair that goes down to my shoulders and like a big fringe that goes over one of my eyes, and I'm like, man, I miss having hair, but I don't miss the anxiety.
Yeah. I kind of get that feeling sometimes. Obviously, I've never gone through with it, of just thinking, why do I have to have hair? It looks stupid. It's big and frizzy, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah, I don't recommend just doing it. Like, I'm not I'm not the point that I'm
gonna go shave my head right now. See ya.
The point that I'm making isn't shave your head. The point that I'm making is maybe have a look at your life and think about things that are perhaps causing you anxiety that don't need to.
Yeah. I sort of went through a bit of this last year where I was like, I have a bunch of people in my life that kind of make things worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why I'm keeping them around. Or why I'm keeping around things that remind me of them. Or whatever. I remember I broke up with a boyfriend one time. And I had something of his. And I remember the best feeling was getting rid of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I donated it to a charity shop, so hopefully someone enjoyed it. But I was just, as soon as it was gone, I was like, oh.
I had something similar.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I had something similar. I had a box of an ex-girlfriend's possessions that had just been left at mine through sheer happenstance when everything kicked off. And I held on. I collected everything together, and I put them in a small box, and I just kept it with me. I kept it with me for almost 10 years.
Really?
It went everywhere with me. It was usually I hid it, like I would hide it on top of a wardrobe, or I'd put it under the bed, like way deep under the bed. But it was always
still there.
And it wasn't until we moved into this flat that I decided to get rid of it, because I was like, well, they've not asked for it back in 10 years, so they're probably not going
to want it now.
And all it's doing is every time I see it, it makes me feel like shit. And I'm happy now, and like, I think part of it was sometimes you got to try and put yourself in other people's shoes. And there was one, I think the moment that I decided to throw it away was the moment that I looked at it, and instead of thinking, oh, this makes me feel really shit, my brain went, what does Emily think when she sees that?
Yeah.
Like, what does my wife think when she sees me carting around this box of stuff that belongs to an ex-girlfriend? Like, how does that make her feel? And that was the moment that I decided to throw it away. It wasn't me. It was her. Like, me thinking about her and her feelings. But it was still very much like I'm glad that it's gone.
Mm.
Because it was just a weight that was holding me down.
There, yeah. It's just like one of those things, always there until you get rid of it.
And you know what? There is a non-zero possibility that they'll turn around and go like, "Hey Cam, where's that stuff?" And if that happens, well, I've got no control over it anymore.
Well, it's gone.
Yeah.
You should have asked for it back sooner than 20 years. But yeah, I did want to talk about boredom as well, but we are running out of time because this is the longest one so far of these old podcasts.
I think I would like to think that it's been a good one though, and
yeah, I enjoyed it.
I know that you were a bit, ironically, anxious going into this one because of how heavy a subject it is, but I would like to think that we've done well in sort of keeping it. You know, we've sprinkled in anecdotes, and we've kind of kept it light and fluffy and very personal.
Yeah,
you've probably learnt a lot about the pair of us.
Yeah, there's at least some information that is now out there.
It's in the world. So you 15 people listening to this,
you know about the box. You know about Planet. That I had a Pokemon themed birthday for my 20th.
Let's go to Planet when this all blows over. Let's not do that. That was a joke.
If there's anywhere that you're going to contract a deadly disease, it's definitely Planet.
Definitely Planet.
But maybe next week we'll talk about boredom and ways to combat that, or something. I don't know. But we still have the regular good old stuff to get through, and there's not that much of it. So we should be nearing the end now. So, song recommendations. I only have one this week because it's a mini album going on the D&D theme, because I thought we'd definitely bring it up, but we sure didn't.
I mentioned it once, like right at the start.
Yeah. D&D, also a very good way of dealing with internal problems.
Yep. And boredom.
And boredom, yeah. Learn to DM.
Do it.
Go to D&D Beyond quarantine resources.
You can do it. If you are a person with the ability to communicate, either via text or via a voice mouth, you can do it. You can do it.
And it's fun. It's so fun.
Ebby.
But no,
you can't see. You can't see. I'm staring at you. You're playing. Yes. Do the other thing.
I'm playing. I'm.
When are you gonna DM me, Ebby?
Listen. Maybe one day in the distant future, when I learnt a bit more about the ins and outs of how D&D works.
You have played D&D for a year and a half. You can do it.
Yeah, but I'm still making really poor decisions, to be fair.
You can do it. It's all good.
You have these giant spiders on you. I'm gonna cast Detect Magic to try and find out where that broom is.
Hey man, yeah, well, okay.
That was mere weeks ago.
Right, okay. Yeah. Do it anyway.
Just chaos game.
Yeah.
But the music recommendation for this week is some Critical Role lo-fi.
Yes.
How about that? They released, what was it, Mighty Vibes on their channel, which is great.
That playlist is really good. Like,
yeah,
regardless of whether you're a fan of Critical Role or not, I highly recommend it.
It's pretty cool. That was my gesture impression.
It was very
Not
good,
going to
actually.
do that again. One Critical Role lo-fi artist that I would like to point you towards is a text message from my dad. His name is Autumn Orange, and he does albums. So technically I am recommending you an album today, which is Sad Wizard Vibes.
Very
it's
topical.
a Caleb Widogast album, and it's pretty cool. So, yeah, that's what I'm recommending. Just some chilled out music. He has, I think, 2 Ford albums and a Jester album as well. They're very, very good. I hope that he gets featured on the Critical Role channel at some point. I don't know. Songs to transcribe spells to or something.
Use your expensive paper and inks too. Which I'm pretty sure the majority of that party's funds go towards just Caleb's academic exploits.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like Lo-fi is good. Like, I know it's a bit of a meme, but I'm a big fan of Lo-fi.
It's just like nice to chill out to while you're doing other stuff. To be honest, like if I'm writing, I'll put this on, or if I'm playing a game but I don't want to listen to the soundtrack, I'll put this on.
There's a YouTube video out there of it's like a pixel art background of like somebody in a kind of futuristic style kind of cyberpunk cafe, and it's got people walking in the background, and it's a mix of like a rain sound combined with the I think it's called Beneath the Mask, which is a track from Persona 5, which is the really kind of, it's like the evening chill out.
Is it the one with rain in the background?
Yeah. It's so good. It's so chilled out, because that is a song that I could listen to for eternity.
Well, there you go. Beneath the Mask from Persona 5, another song recommendation.
I think it's Beneath the Mask. I
think it is Beneath the Mask. The shapeshifter at Pose Masquerade.
Yeah. I'm a shapeshifter. Yeah, listen to that as well.
Yeah,
if you want
I'll put that in the description too.
If you want more lo-fi chill, I mean, that's technically not lo-fi. That's an actual track from a soundtrack, but it fits the bill.
It's still very chill.
Yeah.
So just chilled out song recommendations this week. No Scatman, no Medina Lake or whatever. Just some chill stuff. Right, 3 things to do at home. In the same theme as music, Baby Metal have rebroadcast some more shows. They might be gone by the time this podcast goes up.
they had last time.
But just in case, if they're not. Another cool thing that happened this past weekend, now that you're listening to this, was there was an online anime convention. With Kyle Hubert and Veronica Taylor as guests. And a bunch of people made panels. That's really cool. I haven't seen any of it. I just think that's neat. Just wanted to put that out there.
There's one that I've seen people from the MCM circle posting about. I think I mentioned it to you as well. Is Anime Lockdown?
Yeah, that's the one that's happening right now.
Oh, is it? Okay, sorry. I'm just not paying attention. Clearly,
that's fine. I think it's happening now. If not, Anime Lockdown.
Because I thought they were trying stuff out, but yeah.
You know what? Let's have a quick Google.
While
you're in quarantine.
While you're doing that, and kind of on the subject of like anime and stuff, I wanted to shout out something. I wanted to shout out a particular comment that I saw on the first episode that you did of this, which had me and Kinross on. And the reason why I want to shout out particularly no.
Oh no.
It's a comment from a YouTube user, JekMX, who said that they were very surprised when they heard my voice because they haven't heard you and I working together on something since Oko Anime Club, and it, like, they were saying that it was nice to hear that again. And the reason why that made me feel all soft and fluffy inside is because I recognised them commenting on a load of our old work, and it was I was just like, oh. It made me feel all warm and fluffy inside, and it did make me miss doing that stuff a little bit, but I always do.
Yeah, just in case anyone was curious, me, Alan, and Cam are still all good friends.
Yeah.
We just are not publicly friends.
I was gonna say,
publicly distance myself from Alan.
Yeah, I would argue that we are even closer friends since then.
Yeah.
It's just
there's less pressure to make sure we watch anime, so you get to spend that time together doing other stuff instead.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, it was this weekend, or it is this weekend.
We'll get involved in that then. Check it out.
You know, there might be VODs to panels such as One Piece set sail from home. I don't know. But the other thing is that Wagamama, bless their souls, have released a recipe for their katsu curry if you are interested in making that, because I sure love katsu curry and I would love to try this. But I don't have turmeric, but
I need to try and make katsu curry with gluten-free flour.
Do it.
So I do miss it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. I miss just, like, going out for food.
I know.
I miss going to Wasabi. I miss katsu curry. I miss tofu, as in the food, not my Loxodon. Anyway. I don't want to cry too much about food that one day I will get to eat again. But I do want to tell you about some good news to end this episode off with. Now, Cam, how do you feel about FaceTiming an eel?
I really want to do it. Like, those eels, right? They've got to remember what people look like and what people sound like, otherwise they're going to get lonely.
Yeah, apparently so. Eels, like humans, apparently need a little FaceTime with people to get through their coronavirus lockdown. The Sumida Aquarium in Tokyo, Japan is asking for help with socializing its spotted garden eels, which appear to be forgetting about humans.
They're so adorable. They're like little noodles. And they
are.
There's a screenshot of them on the article that I saw, and they look like they look like Beaker from the Muppets.
Yeah, they do.
It's so good.
Yeah, so if you have an Apple device, you can indeed FaceTime an eel for 5 minutes if you want to. I will link to that article down in the description. Please help the eels, because they are going to forget what humans are.
They're worried. I think the concern is when everything reopens, they're just going to be too scared to come out if they don't continue to do this. So you are
Help
helping.
the eels. By FaceTiming an eel.
Because they're very anxious creatures.
It runs from Sunday, May 3rd until Tuesday, May 5th. So, go and talk to an eel. Especially if you're feeling lonely. I'm sure this eel is really going to help. I think that's it for this week, though. Next week, I guess we might talk about boredom or something. And how to combat that. Cam, do you want to plug yourself? I'll allow.
Hell yeah! Thank you very much for having me on again. I'm impressed, considering well, I don't know.
You're welcome anytime.
Oh. So yeah, my name's Cam. As you know, I am known these days as Croverload on the social medias and on Twitch and stuff. I do lots of different things. I'm still kind of working it out. But the structure at the moment seems to be that I do Twitch streams on Tuesday and Thursday evenings in UK time. At the moment, we're playing through Persona 5 The Royal, which is
yes,
and it's good. Like it's I was meaning to say this on the last stream that I did, but I might as well say it now. It's been really nice playing it through again. Yeah, it's normally when I play through Persona games, I play it once and then I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah.
Just because it takes a long time to get through. It's a lot of reading. It's a very kind of linear, story-driven game. But this time, I think because there are slight differences and because I'm experiencing it with people, it's just been a really nice experience and I'm really enjoying it.
I get a little bit devastated when I realise I've missed the first, half hour. It upsets me.
Yeah, so that's been a lot of fun. And also, on Sundays, I stream a one-on-one D&D game with my wife Emily on the same channel. We're currently playing through the Dungeons and Dragons Essentials Kit adventure, the Dragon of Icespire Peak, and actually, so tomorrow,
it'll be finished now.
Yeah, I suppose by the time that this has gone out, because we're recording it on Saturday and tomorrow is Sunday when we'll be doing it, we will be doing what is possibly the last session of that campaign. So go and check out the VODs. I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do next. It will definitely be something D&D related, whether we continue on with that story or move on to something else. I'm not sure. I'm going to kind of put it to the audience, I think. And but either way, if you're a fan of D&D and you're a fan of video games and stuff, I'm your guy. I like to think of myself as a fairly level-headed individual in this sphere of social media where everyone seems to constantly be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
So if you're just kind of looking for a chilled out space, then I'm your guy. Except I do get a bit incensed about things, but everyone does from time to time.
It's alright, I ranted about Edelgard.
You did.
For 10 minutes yesterday.
It was very cathartic watching you do that.
It was very good to do as well. But I will link to Cam's Twitter, Twitch, and I will also link to the playlist of all of the Dragon of Icespire Peak things, if there is a playlist. I hope there is.
And that is free at the moment.
There you go.
The Dragon of Icespire Peak adventure is free right now. So even more free D&D resources for yourselves. Check it out.
Is that on D&D Beyond?
I think so. I'll have to double check. But I will.
Throw me a link and I can put it in the description.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So just to recap what we talked about very quickly. Go to bed. Eat your greens. Talk to your friends.
Some veggies. Yeah, that's basically.
we joke.
The last hour and 50 minutes
has
just been condensed into 3 sentences.
We laugh, but it's very, very important. Look after yourselves.
Yeah, just remember, it's okay to take a day for yourself if you need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
We'll see you in a week. Or I will. I don't know. Bye.
Such artisan skill.
I have been podcasting for 7 years now.